when I see that. And also, we work on this path with the Toronto Police, increase Asia-Pacific community interaction and mutual understanding. And now, we could shake hands better than before. And we are hugging so much. At the end of the meeting, sometimes Mr. Akita, he played the harmonica. We really enjoy it. And then I'm singing. So it's really, gathering together. Yeah, so I'm very happy now. So I could tell you. And I really appreciate you gave me telling about this. Yeah. So we look forward to continuing to work with you, Chief Blair, and the other members of Toronto Police in partnership so that we can make Toronto the best and the safest place to live with all of the diverse people. We would like to express our sincere thanks to you, Chief Blair, for giving us excellent opportunity to speaking to you directly in person about the concern and issues in our community. The Korean community will be addressed following concerns. First, President of the Korean Canadian Cultural Association, Baek Kyung-na, he's gonna speaking about the recruitment of the Korean-speaking police officers. But before I finish, I bring a slogan. The crime prevention is most important. So I suggest one slogan: working all together in partnership for crime prevention, day and night. How about that? Yeah. Thank you very much.
Can I just add to that, because unfortunately Constable Phil Mendoza had stepped out for a moment when he got those wonderful accolades. Just so the way I'll summarize, you are now going to be working day and night in the unit, Phil, for all your good work. So thank you very much.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you, Chief Blair, for giving me this opportunity to express my concern. My name is Ken Beck. As the President of Korean Canadian Cultural Association of Great Toronto area, speaking on behalf of the Korean community, we would like to request a great Korean-speaking police presence in communities, predominantly occupied by Korean Canadian residents and businesses. A large Korean-speaking police presence is needed to assist international students, newly arrived immigrants, and old-generation Korean non-native English speakers.
The Korean community, but for all of the communities that are represented here tonight. We in the Toronto Police Service for the past several years have placed great emphasis on bringing language skills and cultural competency into our service. And so we have been hiring as aggressively as we have been able, and we have done recruitment in your community and in all of the communities here to try to encourage the very best police recruits, mostly young people, to come with their skills, with their language and cultural competencies, to help us. We now have about 40 Korean-speaking, we're 45 actually, about five Korean police women and 40 police men, Korean-speaking, so about 45 officers. We have some numbers for all of the other communities as well, because I know there are many languages and cultures represented here this evening. I agree about its importance. But I also want you to know that it is also my intention to try to develop cultural competency for all of our police officers, so that it is not just Korean officers who can serve the Korean community, but that all of the police officers in the Toronto Police Service will know and respect your culture, and be known and respected by the people in our Korean community as well. And so we are trying to increase the language skills in our service by hiring Korean-speaking officers and officers who speak all of the languages of the communities of Toronto. But we're also trying to ensure that all of our police officers know the diverse communities and are trusted in the diverse communities and worthy of your trust in those diverse communities as well. And in order to do this, I ask for your help. And I do need your help, and this is one of the great strengths of this type of a forum. We need your assistance to help us identify the very best young people in your community to come and join the police service, to help them believe that they are welcome in the police service, because they are, and that they are needed in the police service, and that this can be an honorable, respectful profession for the young people in your communities. And we have very high standards. We need to have very high standards. I need to ensure that we hire people of the highest moral character, people who are smart, and people who are committed to community service. But we know that we best look for those candidates in all of our communities. And I need your help to encourage young people to apply and to support them and help us mentor them. And there are people here tonight who have continued to assist us in doing that. And so I would ask for the Korean community's help, as I ask for all communities' help. Bring us your best young people and help them prepare to become police officers so that we can bring them into our organization and serve the community better. We will work with you. We will come to your community. We will speak to your young people. We will come to your schools. We'll come to your community and cultural centers. We will work with you in encouraging these young people, but you have to support them as well. And I believe if the community does that, I believe if the community brings forward and encourages their best young people to join us, then we will become a more diverse and more competent police service. That we will have those language skills. And that not only when a Korean police officer comes to your door to help you, but if any police officer comes to your door to help you, I want him to have a knowledge of your community, have a knowledge of your culture, and be respectful of the people that they encounter. I think that helps us be a better police service, and that's what we are aiming to do. So I ask for your help in fulfilling your request of us. Thank you. Thank you. Responsibilities, and these are issues that we know we have to work on. We developed a few years ago a newcomers program that we translated into, I think, 9 different languages. I don't know whether it's available in Korean. I should know that. It is. And so there is some material, written material in DVD, that we can make available through community organizations to newcomers, that I think can be very, very helpful. It helps explain some of these things, but it is exactly as you have described. A continuous effort must always be made to ensure that there is a good understanding of the law. And you know, the cultural differences that you reference are one of the challenges of living in a culturally diverse society. That people perceive certain behaviors in a different cultural context. And unfortunately, it's important. Maybe not unfortunately, it is fairly important that people get to understand the law in this country. And that when they come to Canada, to understand our laws, to understand the reasoning behind these laws and how because these are shared values. Our laws should represent the values that we all share together. And again, and you will hear me say this many times this evening, we need your help. And we cannot do this without you. And I will return to this over and over again in every issue that's brought forward, because these are not things that the police can simply do in your communities without your very important help. And I know that we are receiving this help. But that partnership is important, because you have better access and better language and better understanding of the newcomers' dilemmas. And you can help us understand them better and serve them better too. But I thank you. I think you summarized it very accurately, not only for newcomers from the Korean background, but from all newcomers in Toronto. Thank you.
Could I just add, the danger of a victim of domestic violence only multiplies when they don't have a voice in the community, whether it's not having a voice because they can't communicate with their local police, or whether they don't feel they have a voice because they don't understand the Canadian law. I'd like Jennifer Sue to stand up, and I'd like to make sure that you, Ms. Clark, have an opportunity to hook up with Jennifer Sue, who is in our Unity Community Mobilization, and part of her portfolio is outreach with the the file dealing with domestic violence and communicating law and making sure that every victim has a voice. It's certainly a partnership with the Toronto Police to resolve that problem.
You know, I hope you're all aware as well. The Toronto Police Service has a policy which is unique in Canadian policing. And it came from our Police Services Board, and it came as a result of consultation with our communities. And there's a policy of don't ask. And let me explain that. If anyone comes to Canada and that does not have a legal immigration status in Canada, that if they report to us that they are the victim of a crime, if they are a witness to a crime, we will not, by policy, inquire of their immigration status. Because we want newcomers to be able to access the protection and the services of the police. And so we want to be able to assure all of them, and I would ask again for your help to make sure that they know this. Any newcomer, even if their immigration status is uncertain, or even if they're here illegally, we do not want them to be victimized. And we find that they are more vulnerable than most people. And so we have a policy within our service that we will not inquire of their immigration status if it's not part of the crime. If they are a victim, we will try to protect them first and foremost, and that's our duty. And I think this is a very moral policy that the police service has. And we're very grateful for the leadership of our Police Service Board bringing this forward, because I think it is a very responsible way to deal with and to protect newcomers in our city, particularly newcomers who may be of uncertain immigration status. In most it affects women. Sometimes it affects children, and we have the responsibility to protect everybody. Thank you. You described, but I do, and we very strongly support crime prevention initiatives with young people. We are working very hard with all of our community partners, and there are grants available and sources of funding available to community organizations working in partnership with the police. And we are able, by advocating and supporting your applications, to assist you in obtaining crime prevention grants to develop and work programs for crime prevention among young people within your community from various provincial and federal grants. And we will be able to provide you with some assistance. In addition to that, there are a number of other initiatives that are available to us. And we engage in various undertakings with young people, and we receive some financial support from corporate entities to do this, that provide us with some funding to work with young people in all of our diverse communities. And in addition, the province each year gives us money, and we hire 150 young persons from all of the communities of Toronto. And they come into the police service and they work with us for the summer. And 150 young people between the ages of 14 and 17, we call it the Youth in Policing Initiative. They're our Yippee Kids. It's a funny name, but it's a great program, and we would very much welcome young people from all the diverse communities of the city. What we are looking for is young people who might otherwise not have an opportunity for a job, but who would also benefit from the opportunity to come and work with us. And it's been a great experience for the police, as well as a good experience for the young people, because we got to know each other, got to like and trust each other. And so it's a very positive thing as well. We believe very strongly that we need to make a greater investment in young people, that we need to give them better choices. We need to provide them with better role models. And we need to give them the opportunity to realize their full potential. And so we will very happily work with all of our communities.
There, so that the consultative committee from the Pacific region would come to fruition. And thank you very much for that, because it really did happen. Therefore, I am now going to address my concerns, because as far as the reversal of what you granted us is concerned, I think it is far-fetched. My first concern was already mentioned by you in your previous dialogue just a while ago. It has to do with fairness, it has to do with justice, and it has to do with communication. From the day I came to Canada, the relations between the different ethnic communities and the Toronto Police Service has increased positively, very, very positively. However, there are other things that we are concerned about, and I think by working with the Toronto Police Service, we could all say that since we work together, it would benefit all of us. As a leader, as one of the leaders of the Filipino community, I would like to say thank you for recruiting quite a few of the Filipinos in your police force. That is something very, very positive. Your police force is also involved in the youth service of the Filipino community. They are there whenever we have a function like the basketball, and the children are exposed to the fact that the Toronto police is not just there to haul them into jail, but they are there to appreciate and help with anything they can do aside from being a policeman. They are there as humans. They are there as citizens of Toronto. And those something that we cherish as a community. However, one of the humps that I'm really concerned about, and it's still ringing in my ear, I was criticized heavily by my own community the first time around I was allowed to speak to you in that first town hall meeting, specifically by two of the newspaper publications in my own community for not having brought this up. But to me, propriety dictates that I don't ask you about these concerns then. As I said, we were asking you a favor.
Please ask me both of them.
I will. And that big hump is the Riotica case. I spoke to you about it right after the town hall meeting. Fairness. We don't want to be treated above everybody else or be treated specifically, especially compared to the other ethnic groups and mainstream society. But it dictates, since this is a high-profile case, we sort of ask, was everything done fairly? And there are some concerns where the answer is no. Also, injustice or justice, as it may seem, whatever you may call it, I went through the Ombudsman's report on the SIU, which was issued in September of 2008. It not only criticized the some handling of the SIU themselves, but also the relations between the public and the police service, not only Toronto. But going through that, there were questions that I asked. Some of this bear resemblance to the questions that the Filipino community asked when the Riotica case was going on. And it borders on injustice, and I would like them addressed. I don't specifically want to go through that right now, but I think with your help we will understand. And the third concern is communication. We Filipinos, just like most ethnic groups, if not the mainstream society, would love gossip. And this is where we form our own opinions on what had happened, or what we thought should have happened, or what we thought should have been handled by the police, because some of us are still in the dark. In spite of the fact that there are 11 newspapers in our own community, all of them are free. In spite of that, some people are still questioning how it was handled. Believe me, Chief Blair, we are very appreciative of whatever information that came from you during those years. However, I think further clarification on the whole essence of this case about Jeffrey Riotica will not only benefit the Filipino community, it is such a universal issue that it encompasses all the ethnic groups and the mainstream society. I have other concerns. However, I think in my particular case, where the Filipino Center Toronto is situated on Parliament Street, I can take that up with 51 Division. All those petty issues.
You can take that up with me too, because I've been over there.
Okay, so the second concern then is the petty crimes that's going on. There were several occasions when we owned the building. The community, the Filipino community owned the building. And there were several occasions where it was burglarized. Even some of the tenants in our building were burglarized. And it hurts to hear one of the tenants say, after catching a thief, he had a boxing bout with the thief, and we told him, you should have called the police. And the comment was, that's okay, I handle it myself. Because if police come, they get him, let him go on the third set of lights, go. I hope that's wrong. But that is just a sample.
It is wrong.
I hope so. I'm hoping, we told him so, but please, as I said, I don't really want to handle that now, but however, you sort of forced me into it, sort of, nicely. However, I can take that up with the 51 Division. So please, address our concern on those three things: fairness, injustice, and communication, so that the Filipino community could rest this issue. Because there are so many other questions. In spite of what the SIU have put out there, there are still tons and tons of questions that need to be answered. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for sharing all of that, and I really very much appreciate you bringing them forward. You know, the death of Jeffrey Riadica was a very significant event for the city of Toronto and for the Filipino community. And I know there were a great deal of questions about the death of that young man, and it was a difficult case. It was a case that was investigated by the Special Investigation Unit, which is a provincial entity, and in the province of Ontario, the police do not investigate themselves in such serious matters. And I assume most of you are aware of the Jeffrey Riadica case. He was a young man, about 17 years old, who was shot to death by the police. And the matter was investigated by the Special Investigation Unit. And at the conclusion of their investigation, they made a determination in their investigation not to lay any charges against the police. And they made certain determinations about what transpired there. And I know that there was a great deal of disagreement in the community about the findings of the SIU investigation. I am also aware that there were serious problems of communication. I'm glad you put it in that context, because one of the challenges we face when these matters take place, the law, first of all, requires that the police say nothing. That all communication must come from the Special Investigation Unit. And if, for example, I was to comment about a case that was being investigated by the Special Investigation Unit, I would in fact be breaking the law in Ontario, because the law specifically precludes me from speaking. Now, I was not the chief of police when Jeffrey died, but when I became the chief of police, the very first thing I did, the first week I was the chief of police, I went to see Jeffrey's parents, and I went to offer them my condolences, my sympathy. They had lost their son. And I made a commitment to them, to work with them, to ensure that there would be a speedy inquest, to see if we could find some of the answers that they sought for the death of their son, so that we could also find those answers for the community about the death of their son. And I think it was an important thing to do. I was also advised not to do it. Our lawyers said, don't do this thing. The Crown Attorney said, don't do this thing. The SIU said, don't do this thing. Don't go and talk to his family. But I think it's such an important, basic human thing to connect with people who have lost their son. And they had done nothing wrong. They are the victims of a tragic set of circumstances. And so I went to speak to them. And we had an inquest. And the inquest came forward with certain recommendations. Recommendations that would not bring Jeffrey back to his family. Recommendations that would not satisfy the families, all of the family's concerns or the community's concerns. But recommendations which we believe can help us do better. Can help us ensure that perhaps we will not have such a tragedy again. And we are working towards fulfilling our commitment to those recommendations. And it has taken some time, and for that, there needs to be communication. There needs to be an explanation to the community, because I know the community has voiced to me a very strong interest in ensuring that those recommendations are acted upon. And they include such things as providing our police officers with equipment that would readily identify them as police officers when they are working in plain clothes. in the form of jackets which say very clearly police, and an armband which says very clearly identifies them as police officers, and new equipment for some of our cars which would enable citizens to recognize our plainclothes cars as police cars. And we are working through some of those issues, and I am very happy to meet with concerned members of the community about that to improve our communications around this. And one of the challenges we face, and you touched upon it when you spoke about the problems at the community center, and it is a problem that others and other communities are having as well. And it is unfortunately a lack of confidence in our justice system, in justice, as you referred to it. That people sometimes will feel a need to take the law into their own hands because they have no confidence that the law will give them justice. And I think this is a very significant issue for us. It's an issue that has obviously impacted on the Filipino community. I can tell you, I know very well, that it has also impacted on our Chinese business community here in Toronto and our relationship with that community as well. And these are issues that we need to discuss. People need to have confidence in the system. But we also have to ensure that people recognize that in this society, among us and in Canadian law, we must respect the law. We must let the law prevail. We must live by the rule of law. We must always act in the public interest, but we must understand and live by the rule of law. We cannot take the law into our own hands. The police cannot take the law into their own hands, and none of us can. And so it is sometimes a source of frustration, anger, uncertainty, even an issue that can divide us. But we need to work together to build a greater understanding in our community about what our rights and our obligations are as citizens when we are dealing with such matters. And we need to have confidence that if we work together and we do the right things, that the criminal justice system will work for all of us. And we must never succumb to the temptation of taking the law into our own hands. We must respect the law and uphold the law, because that is the basis upon which a civilized society works. We are better people when we recognize the rule of law and we commit to each other to uphold it. And I believe that that is a value that we all share. It is a value that sometimes is challenged by a sense of injustice. But I think we all have to work on it and continue our communication to ensure that we are a fair society for everyone. If there are still concerns, and I know there must be, within the Filipino community about the death of Jeffrey Riadica, we have worked very hard in the community. We have worked really hard to build a better relationship, better understanding, better lines of communication. I am blessed. I've got some great people. You mentioned Phil Mendoza. I don't think we've got anybody that works hard to build a relationship in a community than Phil does. And he has many partners in the community that work just as hard back to help us make this thing work. I have worked with Jeffrey's brother, Joel, who sat on my youth advisory committee for a number of years and came, and it took great courage to do that, to sit down with the chief of police, the same police service that had taken his brother's life, to work with us, to try to find better ways for us to communicate with young people, and in particular young people and rebuild a relationship with young people within the Filipino community in Toronto. And there has been great courage and a great effort on the part of so many people in the community to answer those questions. I understand that there is still uncertainty, but let me assure you, we cannot change the past, but we can work together for the future to make sure that we will have a better relationship with you. The tragedy of the death of Jeffrey Riadica won't be repeated in the city of Toronto. We have to have some confidence in the SIU, and I appreciate that the Ombudsman did not express much confidence in the SIU. The SIU is an important institution in this province. It is intended to give people confidence that their matters will be addressed independently, that the police will not be investigating themselves. When that public confidence is undermined, then I think we all suffer. So we have to work to make sure that that works for us as well. But if you or any members of the Filipino community wanted to meet with us to speak further about your concerns about Jeffrey, I'm more than happy to do so. Because it's important. And we want to make sure that something good comes from that tragedy.
Thank you very much, Chief Mayor.
Thank you.
I'm the CEO and General Manager of the Ontario Korean Businessmen Association, which is a non-profit organization. I respect our Toronto Police very much, and I always think Toronto Police for doing such a great job making our Toronto safe. making Toronto a safe place for our children to live in. I want to talk about illegal tobacco today. I have read in the Toronto Star that minors can buy illegal tobacco on the street on Queen Street and broad daylight. I think we need more tough measures to prevent illegal tobacco.
And act as a check and balance on the information that you may be getting. I would also urge you to make sure you maintain the contact with the frontline officers. You have a critical mass, for instance, of Chinese-speaking officers now. I would implore you not to allow consultative committees and their members to act as gatekeepers to the information that you can receive at the senior levels, and not allow bureaucracy, with which I'm familiar, to prevent you from getting information from the front lines. I'm not going to speak specifically of the case that's now before the courts. You know I have my opinion on that, but I respect yours as well. And there are always at least two sides to a story. Thank you.
Actually, thank you. Gordon has been someone to whose wisdom we have often looked, and he is a previous member of our Police Services Board, knows a fair bit about police governance and consultation, and I really appreciate his comments. You know, it's very important. We established this consultative committee, and some of the concerns that are often expressed, and I think Gordon alludes to, is that we want to make sure that every voice can be heard in the consultative process, that it is not an exclusive process where a small number of people purport to represent all of the interests of the community. And I want to assure you, because I've read your comments on the thing, Gordon, and I want to assure everybody else in the room that we are committed to a very broad consultation. And we have our consultative committees, we have police liaison committees, but we also work every day in communities. I haven't lost touch with the street, I want to assure you of that. I worked in Chinatown for years, and as a constable, as a sergeant, as an inspector, as a staff superintendent, I was responsible for those areas of our city. I know a lot of people in those communities, and I still talk to a lot of people in those communities. But the consultative processes, for us, are not just about individuals choosing to come down and sit with us, but most often the people that come to and participate in those consultative processes represent organizations. They come from large organizations, and they bring, hopefully, when the system works well, the positions and the opinions and the perspectives of many people when they come to the room. They have that responsibility, not just to simply bring forward their own perspective, but the perspective of the people that represent them. And when we form these consultative committees, we usually go to the organizations which represent large numbers of diverse people in the city, and we ask them to choose their representative. We don't choose who will come to speak to us. We let the community choose who will come and speak to us. And we let the community to continue to have input in that process. And hopefully by keeping the door open, people who have concerns can come in and feel free to come in. And they don't have to protest on our front lawn. They can walk right in the door. They can get some time with my senior staff. They can get time with me. And we'll talk about your community. We'll talk about your concerns. And we will learn from your perspective, and we will share ours with you. So I think I'm a strong defender of the consultative process. It is not about cheerleading. I don't need cheerleaders. I need advice. I need help, and I need partnership. I need it from all of you, and I need to hear from all perspectives. I need to hear from people who sometimes don't like us. Sometimes people that are very angry and frustrated with us. It's important to hear their voices as well, and the doors are open to them in this process for us. And it may not always seem that way to others. And if you don't think the consultative process speaks for you, then come and join the process and speak for yourself. You are welcome in this place. Your opinions are welcome in this organization. And I hope that through that process, if we work on this together, we can make it achieve what it should achieve. It's a very special relationship. And I don't disagree at all about the importance of bringing people from diverse communities into the organization and to listening to their voice. We have established recently in our service internal support networks where we have encouraged police officers from various ethnic backgrounds, women, gay, lesbian, officers from Southwest Asia, from China, our black officers, from all our diverse groups, to form support networks to support each other and to also speak for themselves and for their communities. And that's a tremendously important undertaking within our service to empower and to give them a strong voice within our organization. We've spent the last 5 years, I can tell you that we have set for a target for ourselves the hiring of women and members of visible minority communities in this city. And we have set a target that more than half of the people that we hire will be from those two groups, women and or visible minorities, because we need those diverse perspectives. It's not just about language, but it's about language. It's not just about culture, but of course it's about culture. But it's the diversity of perspectives that we are trying to bring into our organization. It strengthens us. It helps us do a better job. And I think that we have achieved extraordinary success. And I can tell you, 54% of the people that we have hired have come from those two target groups. And so the diversity of the perspectives within today's Toronto Police Service is vastly different than it was even 5 short years ago. And I know because I was in this police service 5 short years ago. And it will be far different again because we are absolutely committed to that program and that we are making sure that everyone we bring into this organization is representative of that diversity of perspective, which is the City of Toronto. And we're not just bringing them in the front door, but we are populating them through our organization. I'm very proud to be able to tell you, we are the only police service in this country that has women and people of minority communities in every rank of the service, except the chief. When they get rid of me, maybe we can get that too. In every specialized position of the service, in every region of the city, we have women and visible minorities in leadership positions. And I think that's really important. And I hope it says something to the community that we not only want to bring them into our organization, but we respect their perspectives enough that we would put them in leadership positions, and they will help us make decisions about how to serve a diverse city. So I think the points that you made, Gordon, are extremely important. I want you to know that we're listening to them. We're trying very hard to get this right. And I appreciate that you came and shared your perspective with us tonight.
Discrimination, racism, and after the war in 1945, we said that we're going to live here in Canada, and most of the 22,000 people that were interned came out west at the east, because the Japanese people could not get back in the West Coast till 1949. Okay, because that's 1949 was the first time Japanese, Chinese, Hindu people could vote. So, but what I'm saying here is that very important is that we have integrated. So when we came to Toronto, I came here in 1947, but before that, in 1945, when people came from the West Coast, they came to Toronto. They were asked not to stay together, but to integrate in the community. So Japanese Canadians have left all over the city, Escarba, North York, Etobicoke, named Toronto, and today the intermarriage is over 90%. And we have a population in Toronto, GTA, about 25,000. I think maybe in Toronto less than 20,000. And you know, so we have become good Canadian citizens. And one of the reasons is because of our cultural heritage. The pioneers that came, they work hard to make a good living, never cause problems and troubles. After the war, we set aside to say that we're going to become good Canadians. Let's forget about the past, but let's build the future for our children.
Cannot be a genuine closure to this case unless justice is served. So we would like to address certain questions, and we would like to raise very specific questions. First, a very brief background. Jeffrey was fatally shot in May 2004. And after that, sadly or unfortunately, your predecessor, I hope he's not here, made a statement to the media that he stood by his police officer. Even before investigation has started, even before the SIU has started its investigation. And it has that statement made an impact in our community in the sense of fairness of your predecessor. And we are heartened by the fact that when you took over, as you said, you approached and saw the family of Jeffrey and offered your condolences. And during the inquest, coroner's inquest in 2006, on the case of Jeffrey Riodica, which took, I think, more than 3 months to conclude. we saw you in one of the sessions, and we witnessed that you approached the family, and you made a statement to the media that you were there to support both your police force and the family, and we appreciate that very much. Now, the results of the inquest